everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we call social ad discovery. So if I look now at what's been happening over the last 10 years in the desktop era, it's been defined by Google largely and search. And consumers are being able to discover things that they're looking for. We think that the next 10 years is going to be defined by social advocacy and social endorsement. So they're calling up the presentation here. Next. Right, thank you. So if you think about what's happened recently, we've all seen this huge move towards mobile and tablet. And at the same time, we've seen that consumers are willing to share social data about content. So these days, we discover our news through Twitter or Facebook. We see, for instance, which films we decide we're going to watch through IMDb and social services like Rotten Tomatoes. And increasingly now, Social Graph is letting us know which of our friends have, for instance, been to a certain hotel or been to a flat on Airbnb, and that Social Graph is allowing us to form a connection with a potential action that we're going to take up. And we've seen that on Amazon, and Yelp, the importance of ratings become massive. I think over 70% of people will not buy from an unrated product on Amazon. And when you actually have seen something that has a very high number of ratings as a consumer, and if you think about it, many of us have been in these situations, concepts like brand and price become less important. Your commitment, if you like, to do something has already been decided by the advocacy of others. And so we think there's going to be some big, powerful changes coming over this next 10 years. So what does LoopMe do? We wrap every single ad in mobile or tablet with the ability to like, stop, or share that particular ad content. Advertising is content, and we think it will go the same way as other content has gone, and we think that the consumer will become the channel of distribution, that fans, if you like, will become a channel of distribution. So we heard earlier from Nikki from OMD, who said that retargeting is incredibly powerful. Everything is happening around retargeting. And she admitted that it's kind of spooky for consumers. And at the same time, nobody's letting the consumer say stop. So on every single one of the ads we serve, as well as saying like or share for fans or people who approve of the advertising, they can also stop it, which is a consumer-initiated frequency cap. I don't need to see this ad again. We're also then going beyond community-based endorsement and allowing people, for instance, to wrap tweets around content. And I'm going to show you some examples shortly. And then we're getting down to individual-based endorsement. This is paving the way for some of the initiatives that people like Facebook are doing with Social Graph and pointing out which of your friends have, for instance, interacted with a product or service. And so what you find when you wrap tweets around content is that different consumers will respond to different stimuli, and I'll touch on that shortly. So a very little bit about our company, LoopMe. My co-founder and I worked in mobile advertising for the last 8 years. He's the guy on the right there, Marco van der Berg. We were at AdInfuse and then Velti, so we saw the early developments of mobile marketing and mobile advertising. And we're joined at the board level by Kate Burns, who was actually the first employee at Google outside the US and oversaw their growth for 6 years before becoming CEO of AOL. And also by Russell Buckley, who was the first employee at AdMob. So as a team, we've seen many new introductions of advertising technology waves. As a business now, we have offices in the US and Europe and working with many of the largest brands internationally on mobile. So a little bit more on touching on what I was talking about earlier. People trust communities. You know, we've all seen that Yelp and Amazon ratings help make our decisions about content or the number of likes or endorsement that something has. They also trust enthusiasts, celebrities, experts, and friends. And I've put some here, examples. So if you look here in the top left-hand side here, there's a tweet from an enthusiast about a game that helps others who trust that individual just on the basis of what they look like and what they've said in their tweet about it to maybe investigate that game. Equally, others might trust or follow a celebrity or an expert. In this case, this is a CNN journalist who's talking about a game. Or we might be connected through a social graph that starts to tell us how many of our friends have interacted with this game or with this advertising content, or how many of our friends approve of this content. And we see some very interesting results. Different segments of consumers respond to different faces or different endorsements, and different products respond in different ways during their product cycles. For instance, by adding tweets, we saw a 50% increase in the click-through rate and engagement rates across adverts versus running them without the tweet endorsement. And we saw that we reduced the cost per acquisition, or cost per action, if you like, by 13% by increasing a toolbar with the ability to share or vote or actually give feedback, because the consumer felt like this wasn't just being broadcast to them, they actually had a control over what kind of content they were being shown, and they had the ability to stop that content, and they seemed to respond positively to that. We've also taken a study we did earlier this year. We took 25 million consumers worldwide, and we took over 100 million ads that had been served to them. And we looked at some different trends that stood out from who is actually interacting socially with ads. Who are these people, and why are they doing some of these things? So we found that the UK, US, and China were some of the highest geographies in terms of their propensity to interact socially with advertising content, which when we were discussing the results with Kate, who was an ex-Googler, she wasn't surprised. I think that Google click-through rates were highest consistently in the UK, certainly during her tenure at Google. We also saw that consumers were more likely to like ads than dislike ads. Now, obviously, we have a vested interest here that if we're finding a context or an advert that isn't being enjoyed by a certain group of consumers, then we will move that advert away from those consumers. So we are ensuring that we're not upsetting people and that we're trying to give them a better experience. And we saw a large proportion of people that would actually share content as well. And I think I have more of this on my next slide. But so which brands got more social interaction? Well, the bigger the brand, the greater the social interaction. So for instance, in the gaming market, we saw that Candy Crush is a very, very, very large game, but The Hobbit is a bigger brand. Consumers had a stronger affinity to it. Even though as a game, it was nowhere near as successful. So The Hobbit actually had a higher amount of social interactions, for instance, than Candy Crush. And also, when you look then at I guess the sort of negative feedback you get on advertising as well, if you put the wrong ad in the wrong location, or showed it for too much frequency, or we ran English language ads, I think, in a different geography, then very quickly you get a much lower like rate or a very high disapproval or opt-out rate as well. So you get very fine adjustments quickly, which can be important. If you're a big brand, for instance, a handset brand who is running the same product marketing advertising in several different geographies, you need to be able to learn where's your advertising being loved, and under which context and which groups of consumers are maybe not loving it as much, and should you then adjust the messaging or take the advertising away. So there's a case study here from gaming, and the target objective, if you like, from this I think the first week of a campaign was to get an install, which most advertising in this area is trying to do. I guess the interesting insight here is that for every person who installed the app, a different person, there was a small amount of overlap, but it's less than 5% or so, shared the app. So for every prospect, you have a fan. For every customer that you're about to get to react to your advertising, you probably have a fan who can advocate you. And you owe it to yourself and to your brand to allow those consumers to act on your behalf. We found more people were willing to like, for instance, than install, and we had a number of people who opted out and didn't want to see the ads again. And also then, when we measured on the back end, we saw that the game downloaders who had been socially advocated were 60% more likely to pay for in-app purchases. This is kind of the dream, if you like, of advocacy creating value in the mind of the consumer. And this is a trick that obviously brands have used for many years. If you look at Tag Heuer, they'll make watches in the East. I don't know, I could guess whether or not that's for $30 or $50 or something, and then we'll sell them for maybe $1,000. And what they're doing is leveraging off great product, but also the advocacy by placing that around celebrities' wrists and then putting that into consumer magazines. So there's a powerful value statement within advocacy. And many people, when you first face with this concept, they say, well, who cares about advertising? Who's going to like an ad, or who's going to like a product or connect with a product? Well, we had earlier on, for many of you who may have been here, Jay presented, from Unilever, presented the Dove commercials and Lifebuoy commercials. You know, these are really powerful emotional connections. I bought practically a tear to the corner of my eye, both of those commercials. So there is a strong connection, and advertising is a $500 billion business. You know, if the brands behind advertising cannot create connections with consumers that either entertain or inform or create an emotional connection, then we're probably going to be lost. So you need to enable your consumers and your fans, and you need to be able to then retarget those fans and create an ongoing dialogue with those fans. And that's what the business is doing. So in summary, consumers are happy to respond socially to products and to ads, and that there is a potential to increase the customer value on the basis of that endorsement. But you see very different interaction rates by different products, by different segments. This is not a simple problem to solve. You might find in some instances that an individual consumer-based endorsement could be more powerful than, for instance, a celebrity-based endorsement. So you can actually see the real value contribution of celebrity endorsement, for instance, to your advertising. And in summary, as I say, we think the next era of advertising will be redefined by social endorsement and advocacy in the same way that Google redefined the market through search. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you.